Welcome to another exciting episode of Talk with the CEO. I am Darius, your host for today's journey, and joining me are my amazing co-hosts, Queen Esther, Enekeme, and Abraham. We've got a very special episode lined up for you. Today, we're delving into a story filled with hope, perseverance, and transformation. It's about a vision that started in Thailand and has since touched countless lives. The journey of the IHF Thailand Center. Now, imagine this, a country rich in culture, but grappling with significant challenges, especially in the remote communities where access to education and essential resources is a daily struggle. Enter Carol Sasaki, our founder and CEO with an unshakable vision it will change. She believed in the power of education to transform lives, and with nothing but sheer determination and passion, she set out on a journey to build something that would impact generations.
Woke up today, the sun is shining.
I think what's truly inspiring about Carol's journey is how she started with such a bold vision and turned it into reality. The Thailand Center is a testament to her relentless spirit. It wasn't easy, but she did not back down.
Absolutely, Queen Esther. From overcoming obstacles to seeing the tangible impact on the children and communities there. Carol's work shows the strength it takes to push forward, even when the road seems impossible.
And let us not forget the true heart of this journey, the inspiring stories of hope that has emerged from it. For us, it's not simply about erecting a center. It's about uplifting lives, cultivating opportunity, and creating a brighter future where despair once reigned.
Exactly, Abraham. And today, we're so honored to have the visionary behind this incredible journey join us, Carol Sasaki herself.
Let's seize the light, let joy surround. In every moment, love is found.
Okay, to kick things off, the first question is, could you share with us how the vision for the IHF Thailand Center came to life and what inspired you to establish a center in Thailand?
Sweetie, Thailand started we already went over as a university student when I was on a fellowship, part of my doctoral studies, looking at how women move through the classes differently. And I kept running into sexual slavery when I was looking at homelessness. People were homeless away from their villages, looking for the children that had been taken and trafficked. So we already went over how I first became so involved in Thailand. From the moment my first night, I was so young then. As a young college student, my first night sitting in the garden in Thailand where I was staying, the smells, the sounds, I just felt that this is home. I just, I loved it. Even though it was hot and steamy, it was absolutely enchanting. Then came forth the running into the children being trafficked from as young as 10. And being told that was part of the culture of Thailand, which is not true at all. And trying to use the fact that there was monarchy, king and queen, as reason that was the culture. And in fact, the truth of the matter is it was cultivated into a means of survival for the very poor and outer tribes on borderlands as well as in cities, mostly during the Vietnam War by the American soldiers. And I went around interviewing soldiers who were not even afraid to describe their encounters with these young children and didn't feel guilty and didn't think anything was wrong with describing them because they said, oh, that's what they love. It's the culture. Sex, sex, sex. They love it. You should see how happy they are. And of course, those that we rescued said they would be beaten if not happy, 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 happy. Always American soldier, hi-ho silver, pow, 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 happy, happy, happy. and it haunted me. So that was SAVE, and SAVE is fine. It's rescuing, lifelong commitment, rescuing. But what happens to the children long term? And is this just a matter of rescuing? At what point can we be preventive? And preventive at a level that really makes a difference. So those in power within the systems, and it involves the U.S. and every other country. In fact, at that time in the 80s, my first trip was before this, but by the time that in the 80s we were setting up homes, I believe I'm accurate in saying 92 to 98% year after year of the tourists were male only, male. And it was where you came to have a young child or a female, happy, they love sex. And they wanted to believe it was the culture. And that's just not true at all. And the longer you live in Thailand and the more you know that's completely fabricated in order to somehow make folks feel better about it. IHF came about for the at-risk populations. In the beginning, when we started IHF, my goodness, let me think. It's not a happy story. Well, that's not true. It is a happy story if you're 70 years old, looking back, it's a happy story. But within the storm, year after year, I often felt beaten down and hopeless in terms of the trafficking of humans and what impact none, and it's just going to grow and grow, especially as the internet was growing. The first house we got was via Kunyin Kanita, who fortunately had been raised in the UN, with the royal family, and was prominent in the UN because she headed the Association for Female Lawyers in Asia, and her husband at that time was Asiac, founding prominent of Asiac, the Asian countries. And at that point, I was also already working with governors in the U.S. and others. So we had items even during some of this time. I was during my White House years. So I was able to communicate with countries through her husband. I was spoiled. I don't know if I could have done it otherwise. I had her husband involved with Asiac, and I had the backing then of, with Reagan and Clinton later as problems arose. But the first house was, Kunyin Kanita was horrified. The royal family was furious at her. The tourist industry all over the world was furious at her. How dare you make Thailand seem awful by voicing this as a problem? And how dare you make the soldiers and America seem awful? How we don't want to give you aid? How dare you make us seem awful by making them some of the primary customers? There was oh my God, the politics were just from every corner coming at her. And to this day, there are many fake stories told about her and anger about her. And she was a magnificent woman. She ended up becoming a nun when she said, I knew that her husband and many who are now deceased, and people will be mad at me for saying this, but her husband and many involved were keeping sex slaves themselves, and many in the foreign countries there were keeping sex slaves themselves. It was just really loaded, and when you tried to talk about it, you were just told that doesn't exist. Everyone, even Oprah Winfrey's producer, that doesn't exist, Carol. I'm not going on unless it's to talk about this. Well, it doesn't exist. So the question became, if we can't get the world to believe it yet, that it exists, or they would know about it. Then and I understand people not wanting to know about it. It's a horrible thing. I don't read any books or movies on it. It triggers me. I can't, but maybe that's because I was taken and lived it. But I can't. So I understand people not wanting to talk about it. But the question then becomes, besides the rescuing, how do we prevent it with the most vulnerable populations? And that's where we found over time of housing the brothers and the sisters and the many of the brothers, like Pratya, was trained to be a part of it, and now is a lawyer helping them. Many of those children needed a safe and nurturing environment to just get away from the pressures of survival. And any of us could be in their position doing what they're doing if we were under the same pressures for survival. So bringing them to a safe environment first started with Kunyin Kanita and then grew. Kunyin Kanita, once she became a Buddhist nun and renunciate and founded the first university and center for the Buddhist nuns who were also being trafficked at that time, which no one wanted out or told. She wasn't able to handle both. So she continued, but the politics that were going on with the centers, whenever money is involved, politics increase. She focused more on her work as a nun. I knew at that point to keep it going, and the children that were now older, I knew that we had to have homes that were safe for them. But I couldn't do that all myself. And that meant volunteers from within the community. And because AIDS, HIV, was just becoming known, they had bad spirits and no one wanted to even feed them. We used long bamboo baskets. They wouldn't feed them otherwise. And most of these, not most, but many of them had AIDS. And so we had to deal with that problem along with the problem of how do we prevent it in the future. We eventually came to the point of we can't do that. We need volunteers. And it is not safe to have people from various countries and even in this country volunteering because they will end up hurt and threatened. And it's not going to work. That's how we started IHF. IHF and the idea of IHF started out of Thailand. Ironically, it first started there and it has been the last to be able to really separate the children involved and rescued from those children at risk and volunteers where it's just a nice, safe IHF school environment and nobody's threatening and everything is fine. It's the last place for that to take place. And at our other centers, it's not been the same problem. And we'll deal with their history at another time. So when we first started the first IHF center, it was out of something very sad. Our children that we had rescued, several of them were leading it and amazing. My darling, amazing Asa, who I will love and whose face I will see to my dying breath. They were in a place that the government, we all thought the person who was there, and Thailand wanted to appoint the person, so we agreed to the person, and we all agreed and thought everything was okay, was a male and female, very involved with the churches and the tribes and known to everyone because of that. And they came in and it ended up sadly that he was doing the same thing as had happened previously over and over, where I have to be so watchful and careful, where he was sleeping with the saved, rescued children in various villages. And I learned the hard way how to find out and tell. And I've used that technique ever since, but oh my God, was it painful. Asa never forgave me, and I don't blame her. She never forgave me. She was so upset that I had agreed to what the UN folks and the Thai government, what they all had said would be best, was so upset at my ignorance. And this is someone that to this day has never really forgiven me, because that happened. And with one of them, Blue Moon, who was already just shattered by the time she was rescued, Blue Moon went absolutely nuts after that, and couldn't talk or sing, and has been, she was beaten so much on the head, that was part of it. But it's so that all took place before Blue Moon's rescue. So then to bring Blue Moon in, have her in therapy, she's not telling the therapist, she's not telling anyone. And only when I go out and am back living in the tribes again in Myanmar and Thailand and Cambodia, except only then am I finding out what's really going on. And even the high school teacher, principal, he was doing it. So we really needed to separate totally SAVE from IHF. And we did that. And we moved the children to a new center. And that center had the great floods and they were flooded out. So then we bought another center, which is where we were at for many years. And that center, with the earthquake, its foundation cracked completely. And we had a urgent need from Myanmar, a group pour in that had to be saved. They simply had to be saved. And so our IHF Center in Thailand, once again, ended up with a lot of children whose relatives and parents were still very much under the thumb of the cartels or part of the cartels involved in the trafficking. So IHF, which was the first IHF to form, and it formed because of Thailand in the 80s, it was the one that we then in 2000 and I believe it was 2018, when there was a huge need for a large group to deal with. And then the earthquake, we decided to just focus on SAVE out in the villages. And right after that decision, the pandemic hit, so that was a wise decision. And we did not open, post the pandemic, did not open Thailand Center for IHF, waiting until we would have an alumni, someone already trained and very familiar with IHF, and someone we knew would be very careful to keep it separated from SAVE and keep it I can't have the two combined. I just can't. It's not wise. And that person is Emil, and he's going to the Thailand Center shortly. In the meantime, we have had the children become, they're masters in nursing administration, anesthesiology. Pratya is a lawyer. We've had the children grow and into their careers, all kinds of wonderful careers all over the place. And that's wonderful. Those original children that are now adults. With Emil's coming, Pratya will continue teaching to especially those that have no identity in Thailand, teaching, and those that have been trafficked from other countries, teaching legal issues of getting your cards, and teaching land right issues, which is a big problem for the hill tribes, huge problem. And as all over the world, who owns the land has so much underground power. And he'll continue teaching those issues. But with Emil there, we can start up, since the pandemic, we can start up again, teaching the English, the math, and most of all, uniting them with mentors and sponsors, because long term, the relatives of the children that are trafficked, the brothers and sisters, and the tribes that are most anonymous, so easy to traffic, are protected the more that they have English ability and people who just make them too high risk to traffic. So there's enough people to traffic, they don't bother. The problem of trafficking and literally sexual slavery in Thailand has reduced in the manner it used to be so prevalent, that you would just have the 10-year-old you have to rescue in the red light district everywhere. You just saw it everywhere. Old men walking with young girls, not even ashamed, everywhere, older than their grandpas. You saw it everywhere. That has changed, and it's gone underground and yet expanded and trafficked through other countries, because tourists still think of, even though it's been greatly improved in terms of male and female loving Thailand now, it still has that reputation of go to Thailand and have all the sex you want. And tribes that are outer tribes without their registration, then being so vulnerable to support their tribe by becoming sex slaves. That imported into Thailand is a problem. Now, I want to mention something about Thailand and IHF's first center in Thailand being started in Thailand out of all the countries I was doing my research in. The police chief for all of Thailand, the head of all the police in Thailand, was keenly aware of the problem, and I was angry at him, saying there has to be something you can do. You can't just bow to the US and let the soldiers do this. And you are allowing it. You are allowing this. And then telling him about several of the 10-year-olds we had rescued, and they're sobbing, and just, going into detail with him, having them meet them. He came back to me and the head of the police chief in a manner that was sincere. When you can tell it's fake and it's sincere. He said, Carol, you don't understand. They're keeping these tribes alive through the rice famine and donating their lives to it. And it's the most horrific way to do. But your U.S. Army is encouraging them to not get sexual diseases by using younger children from tribes where they're not from the inner city slums, where they're not going to carry the diseases. They're the ones that are encouraging this, and it's exploding. So you go back to your country and you, as an American, do something. And I said, but I have no power. You're a police chief. I have no power. I'm just a college student. And yes, I'm working. I've gotten for my organization in the US, I've gotten contacts, but I'm no expert in this. No one's going to take me seriously. Well, as long as you think you have no power, as long as you choose to believe that, then I'm wasting my time talking to you. And if you decide that you are going to do something about this and no one is going to stop you, then I will give you whatever time you need. And he started crying. And he said, I am stuck. How do you think it is in my position? Do you know how much corruption at every level? How do you think it is? And you sit here and you tell me I should do more, and you think I don't know this? But I'm telling you, you should do more. And if I'm going to help you, I want a promise from you that you're going to do something with your life to do more. That meeting with that head in Thailand is what both had me promising to make this my life, and that this world cannot have this, that it's not good for the soul of my precious America, that it's not good for the soul of the precious world that we allow this to happen to our children. Everything else is going to be corroded. We have to say this is not tolerable. And if it's so quietly integrated into our political systems, we need to understand at a more sophisticated level how it operates and is allowed to be integrated, and what communication channels can be set up to prevent that. And that's going to happen only from the people who have gone through it and come from these communities, as well as everyone around the world being trained in how to help. So that promise, ironically, and believing and trusting that Thailand chief of police is what led me to trust the chief of police in India and ultimately be taken in myself and put away. That led to what happened to me in India, was my thinking the head of the police for India and who introduced me to the police chief for what was called Bombay then instead of Mumbai, was safe. And that was the most foolish thing I could have done. It ended up costing people their lives and almost mine. And so Thailand is kind of the root and the seed of so much of my life work. Now, with Emil returning to the Thailand Center for IHF, which is just the at-risk populations, and so wonderful, and can have people from all over the globe come and learn and enjoy the beauty of the Thai culture. That will be wonderful, but I need him there first to make sure it's completely separated. I need him there first to figure out the building condition, since the cracked foundation of the, so it's going to take a while, and I have to be patient. I'm not real patient, but I need to be patient and to know that the seed always gives more seeds, Carol. The seeds, if the seeds are pure, no matter how small they are, the smallness doesn't matter if it's pure. It will give more seeds. So be patient, Grandma. And know Emil will arrive there, and my beloved Thailand Center that has been so much a part of my life since the 80s, the early 80s, and a young college student will slowly unfold and blossom again.
Oh, thank you very much, Ma. The story about the Thailand Center has always been inspiring. But I have a question for you. We have heard so much about the incredible impact the IHF Thailand Center has had over the years. Can you tell me and every one of us and also our listeners about some of the major milestones that have shaped the center's growth?
Interesting. It's speaking for Thailand. I don't want to jump to other centers. Each center has very different population, cultures, and needs. So I'm speaking just of Thailand now. I think Thailand, it had huge impact in terms of the work Kunyin Kanita did. I do not want to say just IHF and myself. In terms of the work Kunyin Kanita did, as we were working on those first houses. And once it became political and she moved away from that and into working with the Buddhist nuns, it again had huge impact because many of them were being trafficked and abused and becoming nuns out of poverty, which happens in every religion all over the world, every culture. And the amazing impact that has had lifelong is far beyond IHF's impact, even though IHF was a part of the very beginning. For IHF's imprint, it's much smaller. I know and I feel wonderful about the impact we had with mothers who knew from AIDS to not breastfeed, with those that got fed when no taxis would take them to the hospital, and we had to manage somehow to pay exorbitant amounts and figure out how to get them to hospitals. That we were able to have impact on that generation is huge to me. For the aunts and the sisters and the uncles and the grandmothers who went from not wanting to touch or have anything to do with sex slaves because they thought the reason they were getting sick, not understanding AIDS, was because they were full of bad spirits. And the fact that that education that got spread, not just by IHF, by many, but certainly by IHF also, and their incredible volunteers. I can't tell you how thankful I am. And it is a beautiful river that flows through me, that nothing horrible in life can detract from the beauty of that river and those people. The impact of the children themselves that were rescued from sexual slavery and the at-risk children. I know they became educated. I know they didn't get AIDS. I know that they did not get resold. So that is something I just fall to the ground and in just such joy over. I feel so blessed to have been able to have my life be a small part of that which IHF did for those children. I'm not going to say their names because they are now in professional jobs, and that's their job. Of course, we have all the photos of them, so maybe it's silly I'm not saying their names because I think the photos for years have been everywhere, but still, that's up for them now that it's been so many years. The center that was teaching English to so many at-risk populations, going to the villages where we had to work to bring in the water with the communities, or work with a chief who was very corrupt, such as the chief that we were told had to be in overseeing the house. That cleanup that we played a role in, only one role, along with many other organizations, but it was a major and impactful role. I feel very proud about that small role. And most of all, just the day-to-day teaching English so they could speak English to tourists, make friendships, and know that being a sex slave or trying to get enough rice from the village, or being sent to a school of 200 children out in the village with only one teacher at it, and just eager for any food that could come, that life was permanently changed, and they know they have so much more power and a place in the world than they previously felt, and they believe in passing it on and do so in their lives. Most of all, I think just from that quiet day-to-day with small groups of children. Thailand has always been, for its children's centers, always been between, I think it was 20-something to 30-something. It's never been large, and then has also taught the classes. It's never been large, but working with the community, the tribes, the outlying tribes was huge and exhausting, so we couldn't handle more. I think just that day-to-day, I think the quality of the day-to-day, I'm most impressed by the impact of, and not in a trophy way, because nothing we have done could ever have been done by me or any other individual. It was how we all worked together. And it was just the quiet day-to-day singing with each other, overcoming incredible horrors, overcoming stuff that was really hard, like that when that principal and someone else, when they were outed by a Westerner from Hollywood coming and outing someone who had been raped by the principal, so now would never be married. All the different things, I could go on and on. The person that was supposed to buy the land next to us, all around us, so we'd have the mountain for farming and could bring more of the hill tribe, stole that land, and with a government person laid claim to that land and used it as rent. I mean, all the cons and the stories, being shot at, literally being shot at to scare me away, and being threatened. Train station, oh my God, Kunyin Kanita and I hiding from the gunshots. All the hard parts over the years, the fact that they kept going and kept learning and improving and didn't give up. I needed that. We needed each other to not give up. And I'm most proud of that, along with just the beauty, the day-to-day beauty, the singing, the weaving of fabrics, oh my God, how the children can climb up a straight mossy wall of a dam and not fall down. How do you do that? The things they have learned to do to survive: jump in the river, come out immediately with a fish when we don't have any money for food. I mean, just the joy of the day to day is kind of the most impactful, even outweighing kind of the careers they've achieved or not achieved, or this water to this town. No, the trophy stuff doesn't stay with me and nurture me as much as the rhythm of the day to day, the blessing I had to live with them. I don't know if that makes sense. I really don't. But, it's been most of my life, off and on, in and out, weaving between children of the different centers and cultures. And everywhere is a different rhythm and a different smells and different melodies, and the most precious human beings that I could not make up and dream of. I would like a better life and do this instead. Impossible. It has just been such a gift to me.
Oh, this is so heartwarming, Grandma. Thank you so much. So this now leads me to this question. Given your deep commitment to IHF and the lives it has touched as the founder, what has been your most memorable and fulfilling experience at the Thailand Center?
Oh my God, I don't know if I can say that or know that. Well, I think when I escaped, I think one of the most horrific experiences in my life that I can never be apart from is also the one that was the most meaningful. And I think that was the escape. And I think, oh my God, I know. Oh God, suddenly too many are coming at once. I can't pick one. There's just too many that were, that word bliss. The only feeling the only word I can think of is the word bliss, where you feel like you're suddenly expanding into air. That kind of bliss that is beyond joy. When I hunted for Asa for years, and my daughter, 7 years old, had heard me talking. We were at this church giving a talk in Rancho Santa Fe, which is all your super billionaires, and giving a talk to them about sexual slavery. And I thought she was in the Sunday school preschool part, and she had come in and was listening. And she said to me afterwards, "Mama, we will find her," because I had ended the talk that I lost her. And I can't ever find this sexual slave, Asa, again. And I've broken my promise. And I've tried to find her, and that's my fault. And my daughter said, "Mama, I know we will find her. I know we will find her." So I contacted Vicki Levy and her sister, New York Times, and she said, "Carol, that's ridiculous." She says, very educated. "Carol, that's ridiculous. That's a needle in a haystack that is as big as the world. There's no way. She's probably back in Burma, or she's been trafficked with her beauty to another country. You'll never find her." And my daughter saying, "Mama, I know we will find her." So we took that trip, and we went searching, and we went to all the villages. We went everywhere. And we had someone helping us in doing that. We spent months. And then we came back, and we were walking towards our hotel, and we were going through the night market, the market that's been flooded. That's the livelihood of everyone. I'm sad about that right now. But we're all going through things right now, and just have to love each other to death. So we were going through the night market back towards the hotel, and there was this gal sitting on the blanket on the ground to sell the wares, but I could only see the back of her. And I cannot explain how I knew, but I knew it was my Asa. That's my baby. I knew it was my Asa, and then I immediately felt nuts for that. and thought, I am exhausted and tired and going crazy. I can't keep looking for her. And I said, oh my God, she sits just like Asa with her broken back. Asa broke her back when she jumped out of the high building to save the young ones coming in, the fresh sex slaves. And we went, my daughter, come on, Mom. And so we went, and she said, well, just buy something from her. And she turns around and looks at me. I mean, I just, it makes me emotional to this day. And I said, it's me, darling. And she didn't understand. And I said, it's me. And then she takes out of her pocket a picture of me and starts sobbing. And the person with her who speaks English says she has carried this, asking everyone like a crazy lady, do they know this person? Do they know this person? All these years waiting for me. It's funny, I can't even tell. I can't explain the feeling of feeling like a part of every atom that exists. Feeling this like I'm translucent and flying in the sky, that I am connected and that we're all connected in a way that we can't comprehend. Anyway, I shouldn't have told you that one. See, there's so many blissful moments, but they still make me cry because they were just so meaningful.
Wow, Grandma, that was, oh, wow. I can't even begin to imagine how that moment in particular must have felt. And I can also imagine that you would have had a lot more, blissful, as she said, moments like that. And
yeah,
that was
it's
very
the kind of
touching.
happiness we don't get day to day, isn't it? With those moments of pure bliss where we just feel connected to everything and to God. Yeah.
Yes. Well, at this point, I will have to ask you the final question for today. Though I think we've gotten really sentimental right now. But, as we look to the future, what are your hopes and dreams for the IHF Thailand Center? I'm very sure the center is dear to you, and so where do you see it heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, that's interesting because it's very different than its history. Very different. What I'm concerned about the gap between wealthy and poor. And I, as I am for the entire world, that happiness lies in the middle road, not wanting the Mercedes and that beat up car being just great. But my goal, my passion for the center, the IHF, not SAVE, but for IHF in Thailand, is to continue teaching classes where you have poor, wealthy, and middle class all learning leadership skills and helping each other and working on the community projects together. And the lifetime lessons that brings. Those roots for the beautiful Thai culture. It's very different than in the past, but that's a strong desire. Thailand has gone in the way of imitate the West and bigger malls to the biggest in the world, and your Louis Vuitton handbag and your Mercedes-Benz, and it has a really, well, just like it's happening all over the world, it has the most amazing youth coming up saying how silly of our parents to care so much about how they look and how they seem instead of how they live. And I just am so excited about the youth, the university students in Thailand now. Incredible, just like in other countries. And so having that take place at the center, not stopping the SAVE work, of course not, but keeping that very separate from IHF, and have IHF focusing on that will be a different bend than we've done in the past. but is one that would be easy to flow into, and is real, would be very nurturing for their future.
Wow, thank you so much, Ma. It's been an incredible journey. Everything we've heard from you, I think Thailand to you seems like it's kind of different from all the other centers, because I've never really seen you be this emotional. Of course, you've been emotional with other centers, but I think you hold Thailand very close to your heart. And
oh no, sweet love, if you ask me to remember my happiest memories, but there's so many with each center, isn't it weird that we cry when we're sad, but also when something is so deeply joyful, tears just come and they're happy tears? Yeah. Happiness also brings tears.
It just shows that you're fond of that thing. You love it so much that it just strikes some kind of emotion in your heart. It happens to me as well. So, but thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, darling.
Wow, what an incredible journey we've just heard. The story of the IHF Thailand Center is truly inspiring. And Carol, thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Yes, Carol, your vision and determination are nothing short of amazing. This episode really opened our eyes to the impact you've made, and I'm sure that our listeners definitely feel the same.
Absolutely, Queen Esther. It's stories like these that reminds us why we are all part of the IHF family. Carol, your journey has been full of heart, and it was a privilege to hear it firsthand.
As we reflect on your journey, we are struck by the power of a single idea to spark such meaningful change. Your unwavering passion and determination are a true inspiration. Thank you, Carol, for your wisdom and insight, and for opening our eyes to the impact of your incredible work.
I couldn't agree more, Abraham.
Thank you each so much, my darlings. You are my angels too. Now that's called Nangpa. My Nangpa, my angel. And I will say thank you in Thai, Kapkunka.
Wow.
Hand in hand, our futures holding a love that blooms, defeating death.
Just a reminder to all our listeners, if you missed any part of today's episode or you want to catch some of the highlights, stay tuned for our highlight reel coming out soon. And don't forget, our first highlight reel is already up on our YouTube channel, so be sure to check it out.
Yes, there are some amazing moments there, and this episode will definitely be added to that collection.
Absolutely. And if today's conversation inspired you, make sure to subscribe to the podcast, share it with your friends and family, and leave us a review. We love hearing your feedback.
Also, don't forget to connect with us on all our social media channels so you stay updated on future episodes and content.
Thank you again, Carol, for joining us, and thanks to all of you for tuning in to Talk with the CEO. We'll be back soon with more inspiring stories and insightful discussions. Until next time, I am Darius.
I'm Nesta.
I'm Aniekeme.
And I am Abraham.
And this has been Talk with the CEO. See you next time.
Let's seize the light, let joy surround.